positive, negative, reality. There has been many ways of seeing this life as one would like to see it based upon their own desires and expectations. There are many who have been taught and therefore conditioned to a way of thinking, seeing things of this life journey, instead of being told that it is most beneficial to face this life as it is, for the gift of clarity to be dawned within them, to be able to walk this life more sufficiently and in the peace that has been deemed for us all by the Creator of life consciousness. This life journey has become a complex journey only because the human being has been taught that we are in control of the sacred movement of destiny, when by truth we are not. And this is what life holds, what are called challenges. Had we known what was to come, then these times would never be looked upon as challenges, and life would not be a sacred movement. Those who say to think positive, who will accuse others of thinking negatively, had been those who have been the most destructive in others' lives as well as their own. The life journey and what it has to offer is the only reality that any human being will ever know outside of truly knowing what life will present to them next. In spite of some telling others of how to think in terms of reality, will forever live in a false world of pointless illusions and images that will forever clash with the reality of what is. The life journey is here to be a learning time and therefore experience. It has been and is also a walk that reveals lies and also truths that has been told by others by way of personal experiences. It is very vital to understand that despite of one's pains, ambitions, desires, wants, compassions, that the reality is that we are not in control of anything in truth in terms of the movement and lessons of time. One can stand and look upon a tree of dying leaves for hours and will never be able to determine when a particular leaf will fall. Because life is a sacred journey despite our feelings and our desires of things to be to our personal pleasure and thus, control. This is to be accepted and never rejected, no matter of belief or any other type of limited psychotherapy. My biggest lesson in this life was to accept life for what it is and not what I wished it to be. This does not imply living a life of misery, pain, suffering or bitterness. It is quite to the contrary. In my life, I had no appetite for habits. No drinking, drugs, clubs, gangs, loose living, drinking, and so I had no avenue for escaping the reality of the life experience that was and is made purposed and destined to me. I was created from within to see things as they were for the sake of clarity despite what I suffered. And I survived because I saw that it hurt more to fight against reality than to accept it and then begin to heal from the truth of it. My only intention of sharing this is to say, regardless of how we wish to see things, either seeing them as positive or negatively, the reality will forever be presentable with its truth. And it is that which will unite the minds. To endure within the reality of the challenge will free you of what you wish it to be and to understand what is the fact of the matter. And yes, it is possible to be made at peace in accepting the reality. The peace lies within the acceptance and therefore remaining with it. Despite of how one chooses to think, they will never change in their thinking. The reality, the fact of what is, and the fact is the only reality worth understanding. The choice itself regarding the way of thinking is the non-reality, before reality is revealed of what is the fact to be accepted as it is. Reality has always been accused of the negative when it is indeed the only real freedom for resolving things as they should be, after seeing the problem or accepting things as they are in understanding that the fact has been revealed and will be accepted, despite of how one chooses to think or have thought it should be. If reality reveals a problem, its implication is for the human being to see the problem as it is and its effect upon humanity, for to understand of how to resolve it based upon the fact. So, the solution has forever been at the root of the problem itself. To understand what is not stressful nor is it filled with bitterness as most assert. The fact will forever free you. To think positive will not change the fact of the matter if it does not please what you expected based upon positive thinking and opposed to negative thinking. It will not change, and so accept it, and you will, because you have not a choice, truly. Because even in the choice of not accepting it, will not change the reality of what is. If a house is on fire and your friend is inside after a fireman tells you that the temperature it is too hot for you to go and save them, you will not change the fact of the temperature if you say, well, I am going to think positive and go in there and save them. When you go inside, Reality will be there waiting for you, and you will meet the same fate as your friend. Reality. Go into this life experience without ways of understanding anything, because those ways interfere with the clarity of the present. The ways are only perceptions of the past. You live inside of a box and see life through a screen of illusions. Positive and its expectations will get in the way of the fact, the same as the negative. To see and to learn things as they are, to understand them as they are, liberates us from bitterness, emotional trauma and other vices that seem to occupy our true potential, in effect to solve what is or to accept what is. To live in these delusional state of minds will never bring about the peace needed. It is only the understanding of what is that will free the human condition. Despite of how one chooses to go into any situation, rather it is looked upon as positive, the reality will be present with its truth and it will be accepted. And to not accept it will only bring about pain to the holder of the illusion of what reality should be because of his or her manner of thinking. If the human being lives its life in expectations and then reality reveals something opposing to the image's expectations, then the human being feels disappointment, pain, rejection, anger, rage and animosity. And then they tend to hold on to a past they can do nothing about. And then the internal bondage begins. But, to be still and to be willing to see what life has to offer, without the memories of the past of what could be based upon the knowledge of the past, dying to the fear of what might be or could be, and knowing that we are not in control of anything in spite of how we choose to think, will give us the proper strength to move forwards when reality clash with the illusionist thinking taught by those who live in their own world of images and untruths. Life is a sacred journey, and to be willing to see it for what it is and not what we wish it to be, requires a great willingness to die to falsifying expectations and this lie of positive thinking, vibrations, energy and the rest of the psychopathology dogmas. We must start with the fact of what is, in order to resolve whatever problems that we have upon this earth in truth. David Anthony.